Here's the thing. I think that what Sony Animation did with Into the Spider-Verse and with Across the Spider-Verse this year really changed the game for animation aesthetically. They set the bar. And watching this film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, aesthetically, it looks very similar to some segments of Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. Now, they say that this is visually, it's like notebook sketches. Um, Back in the day in high school, I don't even know if kids still do this, but people would sketch like comics on their notebooks and in the books. And so they said, the producers of this film, including Seth Rogen, said that this is where they got the idea, how they wanted to aesthetically make this animation look visually like a notebook sketch come to life. And there are elements of that, but when I watched this film, I could only think of Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse. I was getting that, those visuals. That's how it looked. It does look good. I think this is the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film of all time. Now, I wasn't into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My little brother liked it. I never got into this. Low key, I didn't even like cartoons as a kid. I wasn't into this, and I know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know enough to get what this was trying to do. This film is looking to introduce and reintroduce fans to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Even how it ends, this is going to continue. I won't spoil this film because I do recommend that you see it. It was a decent film. I have gripes, but it's not about the film, so to speak. So it looks good, and I think the story was really decent. The animation really leveled up this franchise. The IP in this direction, I think, is in good hands. It's in good hands with kids. Like Seth Rogen says, he produced this film, and he is one of the voice actors. Like he said, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were never performed by teenagers, and in this reimagination, it is. I like what it does. It reintroduces, as I said, it reintroduces the characters, because it does go back in time and explain how they became mutants in the first place. So if you are a new fan or not familiar with the IP, it does bring you along so that you can follow along the story. And I think it does a really good job bringing on new fans without alienating the fans, the day ones that have always been there. The crowd that I screened this with, there were quite a few kids. I'm talking about not teens. There were a lot of teens, there were a lot of adults, but surprisingly, there were a lot of kids. And I think some of the jokes might have gone over their heads. Some, I think, went a little too far for who they were trying to target, because some of the jokes are quite juvenile. And I sat not too far from two, maybe it were three kids and their dad, apparently, or father figure, was there. And there were two jokes. The kid at the screen asked what that meant. And this particular kid, because there were like quizzes in the beginning about the history of the film, and this little kid, who was probably 7 or 8, maybe, I guess, knew all of the answers. So he was familiar with this, but there were some jokes that I think went a little too far, or maybe it was targeting the parents who would bring these kids. So that's fine. I think they just went a little too far with a couple of the jokes. They were a little racy. But overall, it's a good film. it's a good film overall. Visually, it looks good. The story, so it tells you how these turtles became mutants. And I loved Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan plays their father, who's a rat. Jackie Chan was really funny. And I kept thinking, it's crazy that Jackie Chan does his own stunts even in an animated movie, because it just felt like he was doing his own stunts even though it's animated. You'll see what I mean when you see it. He was really funny. The villain is played by Ice Cube. He was really good. Overall, good. I love that these were kids that were playing the turtles, the Mutant Ninja Turtles. They were teen kids, so that was cool. Ayo Edebiri was their friend. She befriended the Mutant Ninja Turtles. She was the buddy to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She did great. And the animation really did use her mannerisms. If you watch her if you watch her in movies or The Bear, and you notice the mannerisms in her mouth movement and her teeth and how she uses her face. I just saw her in theater camp yesterday. I realized that that these animators used a lot of her facial acting and mannerisms, which was really interesting to me that they did. It felt like, or it looked like it was her. It was really her. So overall, good story. Nothing new, but a good story, relatable. It appreciates the day ones, and it targets a new audience in the best way. What I didn't like is the fact that based on the trailer, I thought this was going to be an appreciation of 90s music. So this takes place in New York City with the backdrop of the 90s. I have a couple of problems with the music. So Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor, you know Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, they were the music producers and composers of the film. Now we're talking about 90s hip hop, and they hired Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Now, are they Oscar winners? Sure. I also had a problem with them, this duo, doing the music for soul. We're talking about soul and jazz music, and the music producers, the music supervisors and composers are Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. I had a problem with that, but I'll leave that alone. But also here now, the backdrop is 90s hip hop. Nine Inch Nails is a rock group from the 90s, right? And it's not just them. They couldn't license. This is produced by Paramount. That's the distributor, Paramount. Now Paramount used to own CBS and Columbia before Sony. So I won't get into all of that. Before Sony bought it in '89 or whatever. But the catalog available and the producers available, who were producers of the 90s and had hip hop songs in the 90s, should have been the composer of this film. If you're going to use 90s hip hop as a backdrop, I don't picture Trent Reznor or Atticus Ross. Absolutely not. Like I know Pharrell was busy with Louis Vuitton. Okay, so scratch out Pharrell. But you had Swiss Beats, Dr. Dre, Puffy, Missy Elliott. There is a joke that includes Missy Elliott, one of the best producers in the 90s, music producers in the 90s. There was a joke, and it was like, a joke about her song Super Duper Fly, and then they don't play the song. Now, they play another song in its place, which it didn't work. My thing is that now I know Missy Elliott does not license her music like liberally. She doesn't license her music. But if there was Swiss Beats as the producer instead of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, we would have got that song. Or Puffy, who I believe produced that song, we would have got that song. The fact that they couldn't get, now they did get Tribe Called Quest, they got some good songs in there. Anyway, I just think that it needed another producer. It could have been Scott Storch, I'm sure is available. It needed a better music producer. The music was weak, and based on the trailer, like I said, it felt like, or they led me to believe at least, that the backdrop was going to be 90s hip hop. It could have licensed some really great music that would have paired really well with, as a soundtrack to what was going on. I think the music was weak. The score, though, I will say that the score worked in many sections of the film. I think the score really did work, but the music, it was really, really weak. They could have licensed way better. I would have liked some Nine Inch Nails in there. Like it was weak. That's what I didn't like about the film. Now, there are two songs that were grossly inappropriate for this setting, I think. Just me. No Diggity by Blackstreet and I Like It Raw by ODB. They were awkwardly placed, those songs. The placement was really off. And I think inappropriate, really. And also, there was a lot of product placement in the film. Make your money, cool, but it was so overt, the product placement, and so obvious. I don't know. Okay, not the worst thing that could happen in a movie, but it just was so obvious. So those were my gripes. There's an ending that looks like this is going to be a continuation. I think, again, it's in good hands. I think Seth Rogen and all of the producers did a really good job. The actors, the actors did a great job voice acting. The story is easy to follow, whether you're an adult, whether you didn't like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whether you're new, or, day one, whatever it is, you can follow along in the story. Because it's a familiar story, but it looks visually pleasing, so that helps with a story that's not so fresh and original. So, do I recommend Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem? I do. Especially if, you have kids. There are a couple of jokes that I think went a little too far. Like I said, one kid questioned, what does that mean? And so other than that, I mean, it's cute. It looks good. I do think it's going to be nominated for an Oscar. Now, you already know Across the Spider-Verse is going to be nominated. Elemental is going to be nominated. I think this is going to be one of the nominations. I do. I think this will be one of the nominations for sure. I don't know if Kraken's going to be nominated. Wish is likely going to be nominated. So there's a fifth slot. You have Wish coming out, Nimona, Chicken Run. I don't know what's going to take that fifth slot, but I'm pretty sure, obviously, Across the Spider-Verse, Elemental, I think it's secure, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Wish getting in. So there's a slot, a fifth slot. It's not Kraken. It just isn't. But that's neither here nor there. I didn't see this in Dolby. I saw this in digital, and it was fine. I wonder how this would have looked in IMAX because of the visuals. It might have looked better in IMAX if you can catch it in IMAX, which I don't think so. I don't think you'll be able to catch it in IMAX. But if you can, give it a shot. But I think it'll be fine if you see it in digital. It may not be playing in IMAX. I think it might play better in IMAX, but it may not be available in IMAX. Is it fine in digital? Sure. I saw it in digital. I think it looked It looked beautiful in digital. It will likely look better in IMAX for sure. So if you can catch it in IMAX, definitely see it in IMAX. But I don't think it's a necessary requirement to enjoy it. That's my take. Let me know what you think about the film if you got a chance to check it out this weekend.